Hi everyone, welcome to another video. This one is about how we get conditioned. All right, I'll explain to you what exactly conditioning is, how we get conditioned, and for those of you who are following me because of human design, I'll link it with transference or being in not self state. But first, a few words about me. My name is Barchi. I'm a certified ICF trauma informed coach, and I like to challenge unexamined parts of your mind, the parts that tell you that you can't do something, that you are not good enough, or all those limitations, and you know best what I'm talking about. So, my intention for you is that you'll find power within and translate that to everyday informed action, which will support you creating the life that is in alignment with your true self. And if that resonates with you, I'm inviting you to have a chat with me. And yeah, let's see if I can be of any service to you. Okay, I also feel called to mention my intention for this video. I would say that there isn't a single person on this planet that hasn't experienced conditioning, and I really want everyone actually, who watches this video to feel that they're okay. You are okay. There is nothing wrong with you. If anything, your perception or behaviors that you at some point had to adopt are the ones that need to be shifted, as they might not be serving you nor anyone else around you. So, the reason why I'm doing this video is by providing you with an understanding of how conditioning takes place. I hope that you will gain awareness, self acceptance, and most importantly, self compassion. And just with that, you will start changing your life for the better. You alone are creating a kinder, more compassionate world. And isn't that a cool thing? I would definitely say it is. Okay, so definition of conditioning by Britannica goes: conditioning in psychology, a behavior process whereby a response becomes more frequent or more predictable in a given environment as a result of reinforcement, with reinforcement typically being a stimulus or a reward for a desired response. So, a stimulus or reward can be positive or negative, and I hope that makes sense. Or let's say it more in a simple language. Our behavior from day one is shaped by our parents, peers, and society. The way it's done, our behavior gets either rewarded or discouraged, and by enough repetition, and sometimes even that isn't necessary, we internalize what is correct or incorrect way for us to behave. So basically, we adopt what is wrong or right from the environment to the degree that we don't think about it anymore. It becomes a part of our subconscious mind. So, do you ever question when you behave or think in a certain way, what is really mine? Or where did that come from? These are really powerful questions. Okay, and let's dive more into this subject. When we are born, let me just check. All right. Yeah. All right. When we are born, according to Carl Rogers, an American psychologist, we have an so-called organismic valuing process, which basically tells us how different experiences make us feel. For instance, if something feels good, like being fed, the infant will be happy and satisfied. And on the other hand, if something doesn't feel good, for example, if an infant is hungry, they will display their feelings by crying, for example, right? So the bottom line is infants are evaluating how they feel and not how they should feel. Can you tell the difference? Or can you see the difference? I'll just repeat it because I feel this one is really important. So, infants are evaluating how they feel and not how they should feel or how they're supposed to feel. That is what I wanted to say. So basically, when infant is hungry or tired, they don't care if they're in the middle of shopping mall or if it's 3 a.m. It doesn't matter for them. They're fully attuned into their feelings and express them in the moment. And however, we know that all children cannot survive by themselves as they are dependent on their caregivers to satisfy their needs for food, shelter, and most importantly, love, and so on. So, Carl Rogers says that children need unconditional positive regard where they get respect, warmth, and love without conditions of worth. They need to be loved for who they are and not if they meet certain standards or way of behaving. And we all know that sadly that's not always the case. Our caregivers had been conditioned as well, right? We have to be aware of that. It's not for us to blame them. We are just, I feel like we are caught in this loop, and it's really on us to break the cycle. So, as I said, if our parents or caregivers communicate through, so basically they communicate through actions and words that children are lovable and acceptable only when they behave in accordance with their imposed conditions of worth. Children learn to act in a certain way to get their caretaker's love, which makes sense, right? And that means that they sacrifice their inner experience to receive love from their caretakers. And in a way, I find that sad because it's almost like we stop listening at that point. We stop listening to ourselves because it wasn't safe and really just follow what's right. And I'll speak about it some more. Okay, let me give you an example. Let's take an example of a child who gets really upset at their younger brother and then they hit them. And the caretaker might respond by saying, "You're not being a good girl," or "You're not being a good boy, go to your room." And the problem is that we learn in that way, or a child learns to suppress emotions or desires by deeming them as wrong. Because, all these emotions gets us into trouble. And in terms of our survival, that wasn't safe for us. This is actually how our shadow part is born. And I have another video on shadow, which I can link below, because, we couldn't express our honest emotions without having love taken from us. So we get out of touch of with our true self because at some point it wasn't safe to feel. All right. So I hope this sinks in. I know it's probably a lot, but I can repeat by saying, we get we got out of touch with our true self because it wasn't safe for us to feel. Because if we expressed our emotions, um, we got punished, or let's say not rewarded, or we got rewarded for some and discouraged for others. So, and then we link those good ones with, oh, I guess I should be this way. And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. All right. So basically, somehow a more constructive way to address a child's behavior is, you know, if they are, let's say, if they hit their younger brother in anger, is by validating their feelings and addressing their action. So we could say, you're angry and that's okay, but it's not okay to hit someone anytime you're angry. And by that, we are validating a child's experience as well as teaching them what the consequences of acting out on it in a certain way might look like. So a child isn't bad because they feel angry. We still love them, and everyone feels angry. It's the action that should be addressed, as well as feeling, but it's really the action that isn't appropriate, not the child itself. And this is the big difference. But if you notice, mm, so basically, we don't identify someone's action with their persona, meaning we don't say, you're bad, but we say, this action is not okay. All right. And how do we work with conditioning? With everything that I've shared, I hope you don't feel doomed, saying, well, I've had this type of a childhood, I will never recover. And just as I'm saying that, I would just like to point out, if you have a severe mental health problems, this video is probably not for you. Seek help with a licensed practitioner, because I am not a therapist. But back to the case, it's not, we are not purely shaped by our past. Don't fear. You are co-creating your reality in this very moment. Also, by the way you aspire to live your future. And isn't this inspiring to hear? And with knowing our past, we might understand ourselves better, or we might get better and we might get better awareness. It all starts with self-awareness, really, and then self-compassion, and then it's within our power to translate that into everyday actions and choices which support what we want to be and become. I find it so important. I really want to emphasize this one. Self awareness is really the key. And I talked about this in the shadow video, because, until we see something, until it's outside of our awareness, it's hard to be aware of it. It's hard to change it. But when it is, I can imagine that, despite having a shock or thinking, oh, this is in me. All right, this is in me, but I also have other things. I also have strength. I also have power. I also have love. And how do those attributes help me, get past the hurdle that I'm on? So yeah, I am always super positive around it because I've seen people transform in so many ways. Okay, so we can look into our past, but to create what we want, we need to focus on now and on the things that we desire because we grow what we put our energy into. And by saying that, you don't have to believe me. It's okay. We'll ask Mr. Carl Jung, who said, "We are not merely shaped by past events." There you go. But that we are influenced by our future as well as our past. Part of the nature of humans is to be constantly developing, growing, and moving towards a balanced and complete level of development. For Jung, our present personality is shaped by both, by who and what we have been, and also by what we aspire to be in the future. And this is from Theory and Practice of Counseling and Psychology book. Okay. And Carl Jung, as well as Rogers, said something similar, which is when we accept a person unconditionally, we help them heal. This can happen in or outside therapy, and that applies to us as well. So think about a moment when you shared something you were ashamed of, maybe with a friend of yours or a family member, and they were completely compassionate towards you. How did that make you feel? Okay. If you want to, um, if you're up for it, I have a little homework for you, and you have two options to choose from, and just for one day, okay? Just one day. I want you to strive to accept or validate everything that a person of your choice, in your life is telling you without trying to change it in any way. you know in between, be self-aware of what you're thinking. Just be an observer and don't engage in sense of, don't try to change this. Let's say your friend, let's say you are having conversation with a friend and they're in trouble, and you're just there to support them and just validating their feelings. If they're sad, you can say, "Oh, it seems like you're sad," or "You're sad because this happened. Yeah, I understand," or "I hear you," or something in those lines. Or if someone is happy, you can say, "Oh, it's so nice to see, it's so nice to see that you're happy," and don't not trying to change anything, really just validating them, in nothing else. That's it. And then you'll see, how it goes from there. And also check your reaction if you want to change something, if you're uncomfortable with certain emotions. These are all indicators for you and are so valuable. So really take advantage in a good way of that exercise if you feel called to. Okay, and the other one is, if that one is what you prefer, is strive to accept everything that you in for one day, okay? That you feel or think without giving it any particular importance. So if you feel angry or think about something, quote, bad, just let it be. Don't ignore it, acknowledge it, but without trying to change or suppress it. Just allow it to be. So just allow your stream of consciousness just to run, or even emotions. They come, okay, all right, here you go. Yeah, thank you, whatever. And And that's it, and have awareness maybe when they show up, what they want from you, what are they telling you, because these are all messages for you and they might be very valid. Okay. And if you do that, let me know in the comments, how did you find this exercise? I'm really curious. All right. um I really hope. So basically, I'll now jump in the human design part. So for those of you who are ending the video here, I really hope that you now understand how your behavior has been conditioned and perhaps feel motivated to change things where they aren't working out for you. And believe that you are creating your reality at this very moment just by being and acting. So never, never, ever underestimate the power that you hold inside of you. Okay. With that said, sending you big warm hugs. Thank you so much for watching. And if you have any questions, please let them in the comments below. Let me know if this video was helpful for you. And thank you also for those of you who like and subscribe to my channel. I'm so very grateful for you. All right, see you next time. Bye bye. Okay, my human design fam. Here we go. So I decided so basically, I'll just talk about the arrows. And more specifically, here, I don't know why I didn't put arrows in this picture, but let's forget about that. So the thing is this part, so we'll just, when you see arrows, you know that you have arrows on two on this, on the left side on design part, and two on personality part, and we'll just focus on personality part because um our mind is the one which was conditioned, right? Our body has its wisdom and is willing to share it if we listen. Sometimes we don't. At least I know that I don't always listen, for sure. But if you listen to this video so far, you know that our mind is the one who has, which gets programmed or has been programmed. So just to clarify, and yeah, we'll just focus on that. And I also wanted to mention that there is a chart, a not self chart on genetic metrics, and this isn't sponsored, but I don't know if it's for free or not, but maybe you can just go and check it out. Perhaps it is. But in our case, I will just check about, on your human design chart, if you do it. So this is from genetic matrix, and one part is personality, and you get this. Like this is just again just an example, okay? So we want to know motivation, and as you can see, there is a transferred motivation, and then there is also view and transferred view, right? So these are four key players here: motivation, transferred motivation, and where is it? View and transferred view. And I still wanted to talk about the term transference because transference is a term that comes from psychotherapy, from Sigmund Freud. And when a person, it is basically when a person distorts their view of a therapist based on their past experiences. In another word, they get triggered either in positive or negative way and project their emotions onto their therapist. So that's initially what transference was. And in our case, it's what I wanted to talk about is when it says transferred motivation, is actually how we think or behave when we aren't in alignment with our true self. So, this is most likely that we adopted this way of being as self protection of some sort, as I talked about in this video. So, what you want to do is take a look your motivation and then transferred motivation, and then see which one feels more comfortable. What feels more, where do you feel more at home? What is easier for you? And the same thing goes um, for view. And it's important, like it's also important to see when you're in a certain state of mind, what are the internal or external conditions. So, and also, as I said here, when you are, let's say, in your motivation mode, does it feel more joyful or fulfilling for you to be in motivation or in transfer motivation? So I'm really curious about that. And I'm really challenging you to try it on, to feel, to really feel how it is in both states. And yeah, let me know in the comments. And if you don't know what is, what I have a video about motivation. I don't have it on view. I might make it soon. I'll see. I don't want to give promises too fast. But for motivation, you can check my video and see how it feels for you, okay? All right. So that's a really good way for you to see, when and how it feels to be conditioned. Because I find, in my opinion, it's very, very precise. Yeah, it's just on point, completely on point. I was just shocked actually when I read about motivation, my transferred motivation. I was really shocked. I was like, wow, I didn't know it was so obvious. But yeah, okay, let me know in the comments. I'm curious. And yeah, I'll leave you with that. Let me know if it was helpful. Thank you so much for watching. And yeah, thank you also for your like or subscribe. I really, really, really do appreciate you guys. Okay. Sending you much love and see you next time.